afternoon, our viewers. Welcome to Women at the Front Lines. This is an episode we are dedicating to showcasing the impact of young women leaders. And of course, in Uganda here, we are not short of young women doing many things. And last week, we had a feature in the New Vision, which was featuring 40 women leaders in Uganda. And those 40 women leaders are women of 2021, the women who have been in the news doing something or for a certain cause or for a certain issue in our country here. And 2021 was a year of its kind. And today we wanted to bring one of those such women who are impacting society in various ways. Unfortunately for us, it's a young woman, and this young woman is no other than Patience Poni Ayikoru, who we have hosted here before, but due to public demand, we say yes, let's bring her back on this program, but this time particularly sharing her life story, her life journey, her leadership journey, but also to allow her to speak to young women, because our interest here is to nurture young women in various spaces, in politics, in the civic society, in other sectors. We want to increase women in leadership because we've noted the statistics globally do not give us a good picture if we do not take intentional steps to nurture these young women. If we continue as it is, it will take us another 130 years globally, individually, in our countries, to deal with this question of getting more women in decision-making spaces. And this is one of such strategies where we want to use to raise more, to inspire more, and to spread out, to influence our society better. So join me in this journey of examining what Patience has done, but also learn a piece or two for yourself in your leadership journey as a leader, wherever you are. Poni, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woman in the News is the title. That's what journalists say. The whole of this week, you've been trending on social media, in your Twitter handles that we meet in, but also in the mainstream newspaper, the New Vision. You were featured as a woman of 2021. And it is surprising that out of the 23 or so million Ugandans, million women, because the population is around 40, 45, 46 now. And they say we are 2 to 1. Maybe we are 23 women.
Okay, yes.
23 million Ugandan women. And among those 23 or so, you have been featured as those that impacted in 2021. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This morning, I saw so much on your Twitter handle pages, a lot of activity, people taking interest in what you do. And so we thought we could bring you here and you speak to the young women as we build this space of engagement with young women and senior women. So that is why we want to have you here. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
And what can I say? I think in terms of introducing Patience, she's been a young leader, I think, all through her life, youth leader. Right now, she is a speaker, a guild speaker at Uganda Christian University. She is a speaker at the Uganda Christian University, Mukono, but she's also been a leader in various spaces. And she's just 22 years and pursuing and finalizing her degree in laws, bachelor's of laws in that university. But we are more interested in the things that she's doing, more interested in the things that you do, Poni, because that is what the newspaper featured you on, and we said, yeah, this is a young leader that we can, speak to. So we are dedicating today's discussion for young women leaders to inspire other young women, to make them understand that it's possible to dream big and begin working at your journey, working at your dream, and achieve the dream. So we'll start right from there. I don't know why, of course, you have a big profile. So many things have been spoken about you. You've been featured in different newspapers as an outstanding young leader. You've undergone so many young women leadership development programs. And in my mind, I was like, does she have, what kind of background does this young woman have? In other words, from which background do leaders come
Yeah.
from, really? So we are interested to understand why you are doing so well, and maybe the kind of background you come from, your family, has a lot to do with it as well. So do you come from any powerful family in Uganda here and in West Nile in specific?
Well, thank you so much, Honourable Amoding, for inviting me here.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure
And
seeing
I'm
you
very
again in
humbled.
this new year.
Yes, I am very humbled by the invitation, and I
Yes.
know I'm not here as Patience alone, but I'm representing so many voices that I inspire or actually work together with and mentor. Now, your question of the background, no.
It is not some powerful
No,
family
I
in
do
West
not
Nile.
come from a powerful family at all,
Ah.
but I come from a humble background,
Okay.
one that is not struggling, but one that is progressive. Yes, I come from a family, I live with a stepmother.
Wow.
I lost my mother when I was young, and I believe that is also part of the building of my resilience. Yes, and I also come from a very supportive family, in that even with the little that we have, the support still comes in. It might not be financial, but at least there is that emotional pushing, there is the physical support. They're always trying to be there for you.
Wow.
And just like any other basic family in Uganda, middle class family, that is how I would actually describe where I come from. I have step siblings. I'm the only child to my mom. And I have so many other siblings who are not biological, especially the ones I've met along my way, the elder sisters, the younger ones, the brothers and sisters. So it's just a lot, but it's a very humble family.
Wow.
Yes.
So can we say, like the story in the Bible of David and his siblings, and the David who was not even thought about as much, the least
Was the
forgotten
one chosen.
perhaps was the one that was chosen. Is that the case in your story?
Possible, because we don't really have a very high figure within the family, but I believe it's because of faith and also resilience. I mean, everyone is capable of doing something. You just have that one tick, that bomb to just push
Spark the
exactly
person.
to spark you out, and then you have to be so energetic
Yeah.
and really passionate about what you do. Of
Yeah.
course, there are so many challenges that come along the way, but then you have to fight them, because you're not the first and you're
Neither
not the
will
last.
you be the last.
Exactly. So I must say, God really, we are chosen people, and he humbles us
for a particular cause.
Exactly. For a particular purpose.
So where are you at now in terms of your calling in life?
Well, in terms of my calling, I think I'm just getting started. Yes, I am just getting started, and I was actually very humbled to see myself in the New Vision and also in the media, basically because most of the activities I engage in, even if it's not directly, but at least indirectly, I try to share it with people. When you share with people, they get to know. When you keep it to yourself, no one will know about it. So that really humbles me, and I really think it takes all that energy and courage to be different, to set a new strategy apart from the normal, lineage of exactly from how the normal things are moving on.
Okay, so what is that new normal now? You guys, the young people, you are so agile with social media, and media is changing every other day. How do we cope with this? Because I mean, people are sharing as little as what you are eating or what you are, at every second. Is that how you have managed with the media?
Still, a continuation from your previous question. Currently, of course, I am finalizing with a law degree at Uganda Christian University, but I'm also engaged in activism out of school. Not employed, I'm still a student, but individually being active in different spaces. There's so many spaces out there for young people. Like recently, I met you at the Akina Mama Africa
leadership.
Yes, the African Women's Leadership Institute. And I think that was an opportunity that we all had to embrace. And then there were also other opportunities, like at Forum for Women in Democracy. We have the UN Women. We have the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung. So there is so much that I've been engaged in specific to do with leadership learning.
Wow.
Because it's a course and it's a lesson. Leaders sometimes are born with it. You're born as a leader, but then we also learn along the way.
Wonderful.
And John F. Kennedy once said that leadership and learning are indispensable, which means we keep learning. Even those that are older or more experienced still keep learning. So the media to us as young people could be a new normal, but then it is a world market.
Wow.
It is a global market where you can share your skills. It could be business skills, it could be medical skills, it could be legal skills, activism, but it is a global market. It's where you can actually meet someone without physically traveling and incurring all the expenses.
Yes.
So like you say, the young people are taking over the internet because I don't know, it's an amazing place and it's easier to reach out to. So we have to utilize it. We have to embrace the internet and make sure it upholds what our values are, and also puts a star to your name and pushes you forward. Let the name speak for itself, as opposed to, because you won't be able to attend every event to get the opportunity to speak about yourself. But it should be able to speak for you even when you're not around.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. These are very, very good insights. I know we shall get further into that conversation.
Yes.
But what have you been up to lately? Because there's a lot being said about you on social media. So what is this that you are doing? What are you up to?
Currently,
yes,
currently,
I think Fem Talk or
yes,
something.
Fem Talk. Or it is Fem Talk West Nile is a community-based organization in Koboko district, and it was registered in 2019, around September. Yes, it was registered in a pandemic time, in an unprecedented time where
there were no services.
Exactly.
Everything was shut down.
Yes.
Generally,
because
our lives literally shut down.
Yes, so much was shut down, and things were not so easy. For instance, one of the things that sparked it up, or the major objective, was because of the over 900 plus cases of teenage pregnancy in Koboko district.
In Koboko alone?
Yes.
Per month, or was it during that time?
It was during that time. And these were cases that were only reported from the health centers in Koboko district.
Wow.
And this was reported in the New Vision as well by a journalist from Koboko. So that really sparked me off, because I was like, now I am a person who can easily speak for certain people, because I've been a leader for quite some time within the school settings and in the community. And I said, I can't be the one to wait for someone else to come and help the situation. So I had to come up myself and do something.
They say that leaders, you can tell leaders from situations around us.
Yes.
Because leaders will always come out to do something about a societal challenge and problem. So probably that's
right.
it sparked off your leadership potential.
Yes, it did. So we are a community-based organization out to create a safe space for the young women and girls in the district, but also have men inclusion in gender-sensitive roles and gender-sensitive different diversities, especially to do with economic empowerment and then advocacy in speech. You see from the name Fem Talk. So we speak and inspire these girls. And I must say that over the 1 year or so of existing in the district, at least we have impacted on more than 900 lives.
Wow.
Yes, and these are young lives who we have impacted through our community dialogues, through speech, and through getting along with their contacts and keeping in touch and asking them, I hope you're taking school very serious. But of course, we also emphasize on the fact that there is formal and informal education, but all in all, we just have to have the pursuit for knowledge.
Wow.
The other thing also why it was featured on the news or the media is because of the great impact we do, in that without even the funding or without any massive force, without having to be a famous thing, we are still touching on lives.
So you are doing little things, individual actions to do taking some individual actions to do something.
Exactly.
Of course, it's always also said that society, of course, change in social, a change in society is based on individual actions that people take and building onto the wider to cause that change that we want.
Yes.
So you just don't look at the situation, but you took action in your
Yes.
individual small resources
Yes.
to address the challenge. Yes.
Actually, it reminds me there is a quote of leaders do not wait for a path to be created. You have to go and create or look for where there is no path to create your own. So through that kind of resilience, of course, I've attended all these other kind of leadership trainings, the transformational feminist trainings, and I'm putting to action what is
you
in
have
that.
Been learning.
Yes, so that is something I'm doing on the side. And then maybe the other is for really trying to be a servant leader at the university and community level, which so many young people are actually doing.
Wow.
But then they need to be more aggressive in utilizing the internet spaces, because that's when we can actually meet each other there more easily. Yes.
Wow. Of course, by the time the media picks it up, it means that you are doing something worth documenting.
Yeah.
And that's why we say, well, we need to share this story to impact somebody out there, a young woman who is in your shoes and she's like, how do I do this? How do I start? How do I, take action? How do I begin envisioning my dream of becoming a leader in whichever sector? So I'm thinking if, of course, you have many stories to share, lessons to share with these young women, and you'll do that later on. But in terms of the current, because your story, the issues you're dealing with are so relevant right now in this season. We are taking back children to school, and there's this whole conversation of the girls who got pregnant along the way, the last 2 years, how they get back to school. Do we put them back to school? Do we put them after they've delivered? That whole conversation. I don't know, as a young leader who's been working with such girls in your community, what would you say in the circumstances?
Okay. Well, I think this whole thing of the teenage pregnancy needs to be analyzed from the roots, or any other policies within the nation, because I'm not only a leader for women activism and all that, but I also channel in spaces of human rights, policy making, and the legal affairs. Now, for the women's side, we need to understand why exactly this happened. Why did the cases increase? Is it because we are now home with our parents? Does that mean the parents are not doing much
their work,
responsibility?
You should have seen how parents were flocking schools as if a whole burden had been lifted.
They are lifting it off
for children to go back to school. Yeah.
And then we need to also look at, is it the first time we're having teenage pregnancy cases?
Is it the last?
It's not. We have had these cases before, just that the surge has actually been so much at this point in time. Now, on the fact that the government is having such proposals for the girls to be able to go back to school, and the question of whether we want them to go when they are pregnant or after delivery, to me, it should be an individual choice. One, because not everyone can be able to handle that pressure
of going back to school with pregnancy.
Exactly.
I mean, I've thought about it. I'm like, how would this
would you yourself, you like as an individual, if you were in such a situation, would you go? Of course, you would probably think about it and weigh the options. Secondly, I think as a nation, we have not been ready enough for such unprecedented occasions. Why? We have nations that have girls that go to school. In South Africa, there is a school that allows pregnant women to go to school.
Wow.
And in Uganda, we do not have such a setting yet. But then out of
so
the
that would
blue,
be like a school of pregnant women, pregnant young girls as well,
something of that,
yes.
Yeah. Something of that, so that they have also the facilities that help to assist them in terms of, I don't know, the pains and whatnot. While for us, we are not yet ready for that mentally, because in our societies and communities, the mindset and the attitude towards such people is still very picky. They already immediately start looking at you in a certain way. They start pointing fingers at you and blaming you for whatever has happened, not knowing your story, your side of the story for it. So I think as a nation, we needed to analyze that before we even cope with that. How are you going to handle cases of the girls going to school and their mental health? Are we putting that into contention? Their mental health, how are they going to understand things in class? Because yes, you want me to study, but will I perform well if at the end of it all, exactly, even from home, some parents probably are like, don't go, you're going to shame me. I mean, mother's union or father's union, and
church,
yes, everyone is going
even
to say, my child is very disobedient and indisciplined. So it gets back to the individual themselves. If they are ready for that, the civil society needs to come up, and the women activists have to help in that line to channel the mindset change. And it doesn't happen overnight.
Wow.
Yes, but the options, it's a whole policy thing that happens. How are these policies made? What is the root cause of this? Where is it going? What is the impact?
Of course, the recent release from Ministry of Education in terms of the guidelines was that allow the girls to return to school. And I don't know what you think about that. Should the girls return to school pregnant and mix with the other students, pupils in school? And what would be the impact or repercussions in terms of the social culture and all that learnings at school? And then could they, or would there be another option of maybe they first deliver at home and then they come back after that? Or that other option you're talking about, separate schools where they can be taken. But, the ministry has just said, let the girls return to school. And I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah.
Well, from the separate school scenario, that was a case study and some notes to compare to as a nation at large. But then to the question that you've posed to me, is that should we allow them to go to school while pregnant or maybe after school?
What are the implications?
And exactly, there's so much going on, and I want to stick to the whole phrase of the policies available. First, in that the community is not ready for that. Second, are the school environments also ready for that? When you look at the government schools available, do you think it can contain a pregnant woman with all their cravings and whatnot?
Wow.
But if they can, then that is okay. And then there are those who would prefer to maybe give birth first and then come to school. But then the other thing is also education is both formal and informal. So it might not be necessarily the school environment of I was in Form 2, I go back to Form 2. You can actually weigh the options and go for a vocational school as well. But I think it's allowed. They have a right to education. They have to be able to go to school. But it gets back to their individual basis. Can I handle that pressure? Can I be able to, But then it also brings so many questions. I think you've seen the conversations online. Yes. It brings us to think about, if we let the girls to go to school when they're pregnant, won't other girls also start getting pregnant because they know, after all, I'll continue with school even if I'm 4 months pregnant. We need to think about that. We need to think about how ready the education system is, the health center, how ready are they to handle all these surging cases if we let it just open.
Well,
it's a whole conversation.
I think the biggest challenge is the concern whether when someone is expecting. I think when a girl delivers and she desires to go back to school, it will not be a big debate because she'll just leave the child at home and go back. But the other question, the general question of somebody who gets expectant and then is still maybe the exams are somewhere in June and she is now 2 months or 3 months, what happens? That is where maybe the challenge is. But you've made very good recommendations out there, and I know we will continue this discussion. It is not yet done.
It can't be done in a night. There's so many questions I've posed already, and we need to go back to the drawing table. But there's even no time. Schools have already started.
But we need to follow up to ensure that all the girls are back in school.
That's true.
As expected. Of course, speaking to you as a young leader, I know that you are living this particular experience right now. And it's important for us to listen to young people and young leaders speaking, because they have the solutions to these issues. Sometimes they are ignored, but because they are living in the moment, they have better proposals. That's why engagement with young people is very, very important. So thinking about these teenage pregnancies, do you have any thoughts, maybe solutions? What could be the most effective solution to this teenage pregnancy, because it's a big issue right now in Uganda?
Okay. Well, I just want to make it a bit ambiguous to the show itself, Women Arise, yes. When we were on ground in the West Nile region trying to figure out what causes teenage pregnancy, we realized most of the cases emanate from dependency levels. The dependency is very high. These girls depend, or even the people themselves in the community, and the men even sometimes, depend on government-aided projects. They depend on family members, friends, and organizations themselves giving free things. There are quotes that people love laughing about, and say Ugandans love free things. But of course, it could be fun. But then what is the impact of that? Yes, in an unprecedented time like this, what happens when economy is closed? How are you going to sustain yourself? So I believe the immediate or most effective solution to such cases is really economic empowerment.
Wow.
I've had such conversations before with other people, but I believe when someone is empowered economically, when they are financially independent, they can be able to sustain themselves. That even when there is a pandemic and government funds are channeled into health and other sectors, or organizations are closed, or family members do not work, then someone can easily depend on themselves and continue to get something on the table, to get their basic needs. Yes. And for the girls themselves, there's some girls who clearly tell us that we went into this because I wanted something. I wanted a shoe, I wanted some food, I wanted this, and so I got lured into it and ended up pregnant.
And most of the time they don't know why actually they are doing that, apart from the needs, the immediate needs that they need solved.
So I think we need to keep empowering them financially. They need to learn basic skills, hands-on skills, and also think out of the box. We know, today most people think life is all about finish school, look for employment. How about you employ yourself? You become self-employed and think of different avenues to create jobs. The resources around Uganda is very rich, as they call it, the Pearl of Africa. And there's so much to be done, but also the environment has to be conducive. The government policies in place, safe enough for everyone's inclusion in development,
issues,
exactly, in financial issues, especially for the youth. When youth come up with such ideas, innovations, and creativity, how supportive are those in authority towards such ideas that are coming up? Otherwise, we have so much talent in Uganda that needs to be supported, and we need to buy Uganda and build Uganda itself. So it will solve a lot of all those problems. It cuts across to domestic violence, the gender inequality rates, the unpaid care work. All those will be solved if only we can appreciate the beauty of financial independence.
Financial independence, Of course, the discussion around poverty generally in Uganda right now is alarming. And of course, it's not just the women, the young women or women who are poor, the whole society.
That's true. It really includes the men levels, as well. Yes.
So
the employment rates.
Of course. So if you're helping the young women, how does it resonate with the economic frameworks of government generally that we have in the country? But I like the focus that you give, because a lot of times these government programs even have, marginalized that young age. They are not included. They think they don't have families, they don't have needs, and things like that. So your emphasis is very, very important. So of course, in terms of all this work that we do, we are glad that you are one of us, an activist, a young woman leader, and doing so much. And we are trying to promote this space to ensure we get more young women out there and speak to them. I'm sure there are things that you can speak to them. But before you go there, I would like to understand Ayikoru, because there are certain, survival mechanisms that you have. You beat all the odds. There are things that you do that baffle us. And we are like, wow, at 22, what was I doing? And here is a young woman who is like, her whole future is set before her, and it's already started. And at 22, you're almost at the middle of the journey of some people that have lived that same journey. What keeps you, ticking? How do you get all this together for the purpose and the good of our young women who would like to do the same thing that she's like, where do I start? How do I begin? What is all this about? Will I make it? Will I arrive safely?
Yes.
What do I do
Yes.
in the circumstances?
Okay. Well, I am inspired by the need to have an inclusive society, one that is gender responsive and gender sensitive, and in all sectors of life. That is from the social, economic, and to the cultural. It cuts across. So once I have that inspiration to have a socially inclusive environment, then I am driven by the passion to ensure that that is done, because what I aspire for cannot be done if I'm just seated back.
Hold it right there. So you are saying that understanding your cause, first of all, is very important.
Exactly.
What you want to make a change in, or what you want to make a contribution, because you have your whole life's, vision set before you.
Yes. So once you have that in line, what your cause is, what you vision in the society to aspire to be or to see in the environment. There are those who say, I want to see a world that is more gender equality. I want to see a more youth inclusive world. So once you assess that, then you couple it with your passion and energy and zeal towards it, and then you work towards that. Now, what do I mean by that? Of course, like you said, there are other young girls out there that probably aspire to also do the same. Well, all I can say is once you have something, an ambition you're looking towards, an objective you want to achieve, then what comes in next is the advocacy and the path to go and achieve it, which path may not be achieved as an individual, but collectively with your peers, with mentors on the side, lessons from more experienced women or men in your line of work, and having a role model, someone you're looking up to, and a cause, a purpose for a better world, for a positive, changed world. Because if, let's say, my cause is to see a more equally empowered world, one that is not discriminative, one where policies are gender sensitive, then towards that you have to have an aligned thought process in order to also achieve the activities. So I think that is what we need to all do. We need to have something, just like the MPs you see always campaigning, I want to see this happening in the next 5 years and all that. So that is the objective you're seeing.
That
but
it's
then
possible to achieve.
Exactly, you have to start working on it. It starts now. There is no procrastination. We cannot begin saying, I want to do this, and then you're sitting back. You need to work towards it as well. So it's my plea and prayer that everyone does that. We may not do it at the same time, because time changes are really different. You may do something when you're 50. I may do one when I'm 20.
Right.
But we all have a destination.
All have a destiny. We all arrive
exactly
at a certain point in life somewhere.
And we can work together without discriminating according to age or sex.
No, but you see, usually there are things that people want to know. Okay, if I have a leader like Byanyima, how? Okay, there is a question of how did she get there?
Yes.
But what are those small things that she does that every other day that add up to the bigger Winnie Byanyima that we have? Yes. What is it that you do, Patience, that another young person may not be doing on a daily basis that build to the many things that you're doing to bring about your fulfillment of your dream? So what are those small actions, small values you follow? What is your path of life? You know, those things. Those are the most important. Yet we never get to know how people do their things. There are others that say, okay, for me it is prayer. Others, do so many other things. Some things that are our young people out there.
Okay. Well, what I do most is I envision my highest self every day, and I walk like it every day. So
the other day you were featured in the newspapers. You are saying you are the next UN Women Executive Director Global. So that is like so big.
Exactly. So, and being a
so you are envisioning
your highest self. Yes, something like that. So if coming from a Christian perspective, I have faith that my faith can move mountains, and there is no limit, and I don't want to limit God. I should not start preaching. But yes, all I want to say is I envision my highest self every day. Let's say it's the future UN Women Executive Director. How do they live their life? Are they going to be a mediocre? No. They have to work and aim extremely high every day.
Have higher targets.
Exactly. Have higher targets. Dream big. Do not say, I cannot meet this person. I cannot talk in front of these people. I cannot push for this policy, because you're trying to, there's that lower voice saying you can't do it. But believe in the more positive voice and have mentors to push you towards it. So I think that really helps me set apart, because even while doing that, I keep saying, how is the CV of the UN Women Executive Director going to be? Is it only school?
You know?
I think it adds up to also the extra efforts to work with other societies and people. Yes.
Wow. So you have to go extra miles. So you do many things. You set high targets.
Yes, high targets.
You envision this.
Yes.
You pray about it. You confess it. And of course, your passion has kept you
there's
going.
Something. If you set low targets, you could achieve it, and then what next? You've achieved the target, but it's low. So what if you set a very high target and then you actually achieve it? I think it will be very victorious.
You have no loss.
Yes.
Even if you fail to achieve it, but
at least
you
are midway. Yes. So it's better than setting a very low target. And I think youth have a big potential. I've been a very great activist of the youth.
Yeah.
And I believe we have a lot to do, especially even within our youth spaces or together with the more experienced people in society.
Wow. Wow. This is so interesting. We could chat and talk so many things. I know that in many other talks we can be doing that, inspiring others. But in these short minutes that you have, I would like you to, of course, when a young person speaks to others, and particularly a young achiever speaking to other young people, it becomes more relevant, because it means that these things are doable. And we see you as one of those. I don't know if there are some things that you can tell our young people that will be watching this video, particularly speaking to young people out there, especially young leaders. Any lessons, any inspiration, encouragement. Yeah, you know, a push. I like to push young people when I'm talking to them, and young leaders. I push them to the edge with so much.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, to the young people, I just want to use something that one of my mentors usually says, Dr. Miriam Matembe, that you need to have you shouldn't be ambitious, too ambitious. You should have a mission and an objective, because when you are ambitious, you're going to be running to do things very fast, and it takes anything, whether negative impact or positive, to do it.
Yes.
But when you have a mission, your mission is guided by a positive path. And then when you also have an objective, you have something to achieve. And like I learned from the UN Women's Space, when you have an objective, you have an advocacy thing to do, be it activism or something you're moving towards pushing. It could be in the medical field or in the technical field or in academia or anything, or political, but the youth have to be more resilient. And then they need to understand that we are not the first. There are people who have done it before.
Yes.
So the competition should make you sleepless. Because people have done things already. I feel like everything has been done. When you think of something, let's say technology, you feel like, okay, we already have robots. Yes. We already have this. So we have to think twice as much as the Aristotles. Exactly. Yes. Oh, yeah, and we're blessed to be young people with young minds. So we need to
creative minds.
Exactly. We need to think beyond our potential and really achieve it. So I think it's possible for the youth there. It's very possible. We just need to work hard and be resilient, be determined, avoid procrastination. And it takes time. Rome was not built in one day. Yes.
Rome was not built in one day. And the young women, because we have specific messages for young women. That is a general message.
Yes, that was a general message. Well, to the young women, you can do it. And women have the power to do so much. Women are mothers of nations.
Wow. I call myself a mother of nations.
You see, I'm already speaking to one. So if one is already here, then there's lots of us out there. We just need to embrace sisterhood. We need to be there for each other, because the world is already very harsh. People are already too angry about so many things.
And the mental trauma is all over the place, especially post-COVID. Yeah, so you're encouraging us to stick with each other.
Yes, we need to stick with each other and just Be resilient.
Be resilient
to yourself.
and encourage one another.
Yes.
I have been privileged talking to you, and in the spaces that we talk, I learn a lot from young people, and we learn a lot from you. And like today, it's very important to allow you to speak, but also not just to listen to speak to young people, but we also learn many things from other generations. And today I represent, of course, a generation higher than yourself.
Yes.
And I know that there are things that you would have liked to address to us. Sometimes you don't get the opportunity to address so many. But today we could reach out to many others on this video. What would you want to tell the senior women leaders in my position and above, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, to the senior women leaders, I just want to let them know that you inspire us. We look up to you. And like I said, I'm not here as Patience. I'm here in the image of so many girls, probably a rural girl, an urban girl, one who is in school or a dropout. Yes, you inspire us, and you have done these things. And I believe you didn't just get born into a 50-year-old woman or something. No, you started through a path. And so look at us like your younger self. Mentor us, because that's a very powerful connection. So with mentorship, you get to look back, and when you're back home, you're like, yes, I'm seeing a good generation of young women
coming up.
Exactly.
And it's exciting.
Exactly.
It's exciting to see other young people, I mean, leaders,
a lot
coming
of
up and doing the things that you used to do.
Exactly. Because if you go and you do not even look back, or you do not mentor us, you don't give us opportunity to speak to you, then I guess it's a very sad environment. But when you look back and you know you've mentored so many people, one, the positive outcome of it is that there is a connection. You're creating a chain of very strong and powerful women. You're creating women who are also going to build other nations, and the whole chain will also continue. It will also reduce the talks of inequality, because then we shall have more empowered women on board and working together with other empowered men. So it will save a lot of nations. But imagine if it's a chain being broken. So imagine it getting broken because you're self-centered. Then I guess the work, all the struggles you've gone through will be really futile.
Because they end with you.
Yes, they'll end with you. So it's important to have that chain, so that we lessen the whole gap that is in place, so that we have more sensitive environments for the whole world.
And of course, it's been said that if we do not unleash the potential of women, multiply women leaders in more decision-making spaces, in all deliberative bodies, in all decision-making spaces, the world will never, never, never achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and its potential. Because these things people say, we sometimes when we are talking about these things in these spaces, they tend to think we are wasting time and we are talking about women. What is all this talk about women and all that? But we want to emphasize, of course, that we will not achieve that equality of the world generally. No social justice. There will be no development without women. That's why this conversation must continue, and it's engaging. And I've been delighted to host you. But there's this question lingering in my mind, and we wind up at that. What would you want, or there's that one desire that you have always in life, and you're like, well, even if I did that and I died tomorrow, I would be a satisfied person. What is that kind of thing in your life right now?
Well, in my life right now, that one desire is to just have a humanitarian environment. Why? Because it circumferences so many things: the legal bit, the economic bit, the social bit, anything, humanity. Because when you leave humanity, you've left dignity. It cuts across the human rights, the youth inclusion, cuts across laws against discrimination. So once I bring in the humanitarian aspect to everything I do, and even if I would just not be there anymore, at least I know it will be a safer world. Because humanity is something that is very difficult to align together. There is always going to be fights in different sectors. But at least when you participate to reduce that gap, then I think you're really doing a great job. Yes. So I know you wanted me to mention the other aspirations of offices, but
well, not exactly. I wanted to really know where you are going to, and I can see you a social justice person.
Yes.
And it looks from my time around, social justice people, you can tell those who are advocating for social justice in the world. You can tell the spirit in them. It's a restless spirit.
Very restless.
It's like a calling, I think.
I think,
yeah,
because you can't even settle once you know there's something
some
that
injustice
is not
somewhere.
wrong. Exactly. You always keep thinking about it, and you're like, you have to work on it.
You have
and
to.
It doesn't matter whether you're paid or not, but you're doing it out of passion
there
and
is
energy.
that, spirit that will arise in you, and you're like, I must do this.
And you probably do not even need supervision. You can work without supervision. So
I can tell.
So yes, that is it. And really, that's a very big one, because with that, we get to solve so many challenges in this world. So
it would be actually absurd to see an injustice next door and there is a social justice person sleeping.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there are many...
What would be your role? It's
what
like
would be your role?
Seeing a doctor who can actually treat a wound, and you're seeing a wound.
And you are seated.
Exactly.
You are not running to help that person.
With that zeal that you have for it. Or a dancer listening to music and they're not dancing.
Or a singer.
So it's just that spark and energy that you always have to keep pushing.
Very interesting. I'm glad we were able to speak to you. And finally, there is this other, of course, you are just starting. Your life is just starting.
Yes, that's true.
And I know you have like the must-dos of life. I must do this. Now, of course, you are studying, you are having law and all that. You practice. What other things must
I do?
You must achieve?
With the law, of course, I'll practice for some time and be in civil society, but I must be a doctor with a doctorate in law. Yes, I must be in the academia.
That's still a lot of reading to do.
Probably be a professor
at some point.
and head an institution or something. And then I must be at least in the very influential structures of the UN Women, because I feel like my agenda for women is just getting started. And it's not just within Uganda, but it's going to be in Africa and the world. Yes. So those are the two major things I really, really believe I have to achieve. And why the academia? Because I believe in knowledge being power. So after learning the law, why can't I also teach it and be some... and I also want to be a lecturer that some other lecturers have not been to me. I want to be a more personal one who will make everything amazing as well. Yes.
Well, listener and viewer, I think, of course, speaking to a young person is always so interesting, very inspiring. You learn a lot from them, but they bring in some energy and, some spark that, infects you as well. So I'm personally inspired and sparked even to think big, to dream bigger again. And we've been speaking to Patience Poni Ayikoru, who has given us a perspective of her life, but largely she has inspired many of the young people that will be watching this video that it is possible to start from somewhere and to work towards your dream, work towards your vision. And that's the purpose of this space. We want to speak to many that we can in terms of inspiring you to walk the journey. Start your journey, walk it and complete it. Bring it to a logical conclusion of leadership, wherever you are, impacting society in politics, impacting society in any other sector, in civic space that we are in today, and many others. So young people, you've heard, but this young person's story can as well inspire an older woman like myself. So we've been seriously blessed by her story. And I hope that you'll be with us again next Saturday to listen to another inspiring story that we shall bring before you. And we hope that you'll be inspired in your own journey. Thank you so much. My name is Monica. See you next time. Shalom.